Einstein thought of space-time as a flat plane sheet and matter as any object placed on it. You can even think of the fabric of space-time as the coordinate system we all follow, and the balls and marbles as the heavenly bodies. As is clearly noticeable, these marbles and balls create a depression in the sheet. They distort it. In fact, any object with mass does the same. It bends the fabric of space-time. More the mass, more the depression, as is evident from the red ball creating a huge depression while the tennis ball or the marbles creating a lesser depression. Now, if I drop a marble towards the big ball, it will get attracted to the big ball because of the depression. Similarly, the two marbles will get attracted to each other because of the gravitational force between them. This resultant pulling effect due to space-time distortion is what Einstein referred to as gravitational force. Now think about it. If the marbles creating a depression starts moving, then what happens to this fabric of space-time around it? It should get affected in some way or the other. Think of it as a stone moving in water. A stone moving in water creates ripples in the water itself. Similarly, when massive objects move through space-time, or when they spin, they create ripples in the fabric of space-time itself. These ripples, they travel outward in all directions, and these are what we call gravitational waves.
This jumping should also create gravitational waves.
The truth is you do, but the amount of depression you create in the fabric of space-time is very minuscule because of the tiny mass you've got compared to a black hole or a neutron star. Thus, the waves created by you are not even noticeable. It's only black holes and neutron stars that are capable of producing such huge waves that are even barely noticeable. But this might lead you to wonder, how do gravitational waves affect us? To answer that, let's go back to our water analogy and wonder we have a boat on the water near the moving stone. The waves created by the moving stone cause the boat to bob up and down. Similarly, ripples created by a black hole affect other objects around it. These ripples or gravitational waves, as we now know, cause the stretching of space and time in other objects, much like as it's shown in the animation. Oh, and this reminds me, the animation is not to scale.
In 2015, researchers at LIGO, the Laser Interferometer Gravitational Wave Observatory, observed the first evidence of gravitational waves. It is thought to have originated from two massive black holes collision that happened 1.3 billion years ago. This new discovery of gravitational waves invigorated a new field of astronomy known as gravitational wave astronomy. Most traditional astronomy relied on EM waves or cosmic rays or neutrons to observe the universe. Much like you can't see through most mist, these traditional astronomy techniques could not observe most part of the universe because these rays were blocked by the universe by objects such as black holes or neutron stars. Gravitational waves are not hindered by what goes on the fabric of space-time because they're ripples of the fabric of space-time itself. Hence, they are able to escape whatever goes on the fabric of space-time. Just like I could not see my mom, but could hear her in the start of the video. Similarly, gravitational waves give us an opportunity to hear the universe instead of just seeing it. And thus, they give us more information than ever about the outreaches of the universe and probably even about Big Bang. As part of a reply to why they were launching Apollo missions, President JFK once said, "Because we can." Today, we have come to a point in history where we can detect gravitational waves. So why should we not?